Hello everyone and welcome back to another Star Wars figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at some more figures from the vintage collection, and in this review we're going to take a look at a very special action figure 3-pack. This particular set features 3 Skiff guards from Star Wars Return of the Jedi, and if you guys are in the market for a Khetanna sail barge, the Jabba's Palace playset from the vintage collection, or even a Tatooine Skiff, these 3 figures are definitely ones that you're going to want to add to your displays. They're fantastic, very cool figures, and I'm going to introduce you to the characters that we're going to take a look at today. What's really cool about this particular set is the fact that even though these figures are sold together as one big box set, each figure does have its own individual vintage card, and we'll take a look at those later on in the review as well. But as I said, let me introduce you to the characters in this review. And first up we have brand new and exclusive to this set, the Skiff pilot Vedain. This is definitely my favourite figure from the set just because it's brand new, it's something we've never seen before. This character has never been released in the vintage line, and I'm very, very impressed with this guy. I can't wait to share him with you in more detail later on in the review. Also included in this set is a repack from the Black Series 3 3/4 inch line, and that is this guy, the elusive Brock Starsher. He's a Skiff guard. Very, very cool figure once again. Really like this one. And third and finally in this pack we do have another Black Series repack, and that is this guy, the sail barge gunner Vizam. So before we jump into each review on these figures, let me give you a quick look at the packaging that these guys come in. Now, as I said, even though this is a 3-pack, each figure does have its own individual vintage card, and these packages are fantastic. We're going to start things off by taking a look at the packaging that Vizam comes in, and right off the bat you will notice that Vizam is still in his packaging. That's because the figure that I just gave you a look at out of the box is the Black Series version. Now, because I already have this character in my collection, I didn't see the point really in opening this one up because there are only slight differences between the two figures. So what I'm going to do when we get to Vizam later on in the video, I'm just going to do a little bit of a side-by-side comparison and give you a look at some of the differences between these two figures. But if you want to check out a more in-depth review, you know, that covers articulation and details, accessories, all that sort of stuff, then be sure to click the pop-up that should appear on screen for you, where you can check out my original review of Vizam from the Black Series. So with regards to packaging, this is absolutely fantastic. Once again, we've got that really nice vintage collection card. Got the Return of the Jedi logo featured at the top. A very cool image of Vizam manning the cannon on the sail barge there in the background. Obviously the figure in the plastic bubble there. Kenner logo in the bottom corner, and on the reverse side you've got some more figures available in the vintage collection. These are the 3 Skiff guards we're obviously taking a look at, and this is one of the latest waves of the vintage collection, which includes a Death Star gunner and hover tank commander from Rogue One, and Luke Skywalker as he appears on crate in The Last Jedi. I haven't actually gotten around to picking these figures up yet, but when I do I will be sure to review them. So once again, very, very nice packaging for each of these figures. That is Vizam, and he will be added to my display of vintage carded figures. Very, very cool, this one. Moving on, we have the packaging for Vedain. Once again, a very nice card. You'll recognise the image there from various images from Return of the Jedi. Vedain is the Skiff pilot who ends up in a little bit of a tussle, has a bit of a grapple with Lando Calrissian, and then ends up taking a nosedive straight into the Sarlacc pit. And that is the image there. Slightly cropped, obviously Lando is off shot there, but that's the image from Return of the Jedi. Once again, very cool retro card. Return of the Jedi logo at the top, name tab underneath, very nice image on the card, and then the same selection of figures featured on the back. And finally we have the packaging for Brock Starsher. Now I've got to say, despite not being my favourite figure from the set, and despite being a very simplistic card back, this is my favourite one from the set, and I've got to admit this is definitely a figure I would not mind keeping carded, because to me this just screams peak retro Star Wars. What I really like about this one, as I said, is the simplicity of the image on the card. You've got this really nice contrast in the colours as well, with the blue sky, the black card, the silver highlights, and obviously the red logo there and the orange insert on the bubble there. But absolutely fantastic card, and I think the character itself is peak retro Star Wars as well, just because of the simplicity in his appearance, and we'll talk about that when we look at the figure. But once again, fantastic packaging. They don't come much more retro than this. Once again, these vintage cards just define Star Wars collecting for many of us, and it looks absolutely fantastic. Again, same selection of figures on the back, but a very, very cool card indeed. Now, as I mentioned, these 3 figures are sold as a 3-pack, and they're all bundled together in a very nice presentation box, which I will quickly share with you. As you can see, once again, absolutely retro, you know, as vintage as they come. This is a nice recreation of the vintage figure 3-packs we would have seen on the shelves in 1983. You've got the window there where the figures are obviously displayed, and you've got the Return of the Jedi logo and that iconic black and silver trim on the front of the box. Once again, this is a European release, and because of that you've got the multilingual text all over the packaging. On the side there, on the other side, and on the back, and obviously there you can see a really cool image of the sail barge and skiff sequence, the Sarlacc pit scene from Return of the Jedi. So really, really nice packaging for these ones. And you'll see on the front of the box there you've got this little call out for Vedain, the skiff pilot, who, as I mentioned, is brand new and exclusive to the pack. So once again, if you want to add this pack to your own collection, be sure to hit the link in the video description, which, as always, will take you to staractionfigures.co.uk. At the time of filming this review, this pack is available now in stock and ready to buy, and it's up there for a really good price. So if you want this one, get it while you can. So without further ado, let's move on to the figures themselves, and we will kick things off with the brand new addition to the collection, and that is Vedain. This is a really, really nice figure. Again, my favourite from the pack, just because it's brand new, it's something we've never seen before, and as I've mentioned in numerous reviews in the past, the Nikto species are amongst my favourites in Star Wars. The Rodians, the Weequay and the Gran are other favourites of mine, but the Nikto just have something about them that just looks really, really cool. In terms of articulation, obviously this is a vintage figure, so he does come with premium movement and posability. You've got a ball joint in the head, although the headdress that Vedain is wearing does slightly hinder some of that movement, obviously because of the back piece there. But it is removable, so we'll take a look at that in a moment. You've got hinges at the shoulders and at the elbows, swivels at the wrists, you've got a ball joint at the upper torso, swivels at the hips, hinges at the knees, and hinges at the ankles. So really nice articulation. Not as super articulated as some of the other figures we've seen in the basic vintage collection, such as Dr. Aphra, the Stormtrooper, who've obviously featured swivels at the upper thighs, hinges at the wrists, all that sort of stuff. But this really does the job, and once again, after so many years of collecting 5-point of articulation figures, it's nice to see Hasbro venture back into the realm of super articulation. So this one certainly doesn't lose any marks for that. Another area that this figure excels in is the overall detail. The paint job is fantastic. He's heavily weathered, so he looks really scruffy and dirty. Absolutely love that. And the sculpt is phenomenal as well. As I said, the headdress is removable. It's a really nice piece, nicely detailed again, but you can pop that off and that gives you a much better look and appreciation at the alien head underneath. So again, really, really nice detail on this guy. He does feature a backpack which is non-removable. He has a working holster there for the Skiff blaster pistol, or the Skiff guard blaster pistol. What's really cool about this is that the holster has this nice leather look to it, and the rest of Vedain's costume just looks fantastic. And again, this is my absolute favourite figure from this pack. Really nice figure indeed. So that is going to do it for Vedain. Once again, brand new and exclusive to this set. The only way that you can get this figure is by picking up the Skiff Guard 3 pack. But no doubt if these Skiff Guards prove popular enough, we'll see him again later on down the line. So moving on, next up we have one of the repacks from the Black Series, and that is this guy. This is Brock Starsher. Now right off the bat there's a little bit of trivia to discuss with this character. A lot of fans and collectors tend to confuse this guy with another character from Jabba's palace, and that is Sergeant Dolan. Now Sergeant Dolan is the character we see take a tumble down the stairs of Jabba's palace as Leia and Chewbacca make their entrance. The differences between the two characters are the fact that Sergeant Dolan wears a slightly darker jumpsuit. The helmets, however, are very, very similar, and obviously Brock Starsher is a skiff guard who appears during the sail barge sequence at the Pit of Carkoon, and obviously Sergeant Dolan meets an untimely demise down those stairs, or at least gets knocked out during the early stages of the film. This figure, however, is absolutely fantastic. I, for one, am really grateful for the opportunity to pick this guy up in this vintage 3-pack, just because when he was first released in the Black Series, he was a tough cookie to find. He was released in the same wave as another elusive figure from the Black Series, and that was Ree-Yeez, who's also seen a vintage re-release, thankfully. But yeah, it's a nice opportunity to be able to pick this guy up once again for those that missed it, and kudos to Hasbro for that. In terms of articulation, standard stuff once again, similar to Vedain. You've got a ball joint at the head, hinges at the shoulders, elbows and swivels at the wrist. Got a ball joint or a swivel at the torso, although the movement there isn't as fluid as Vedain's ball joint. It is more of a swivel actually. You've got hinges, or swivels rather, at the hips, hinges at the knees and hinges at the ankles. So again, nothing too spectacular, but super articulated all the same. Got some really nice weathering on the bottom of the boots there, which looks fantastic, really nicely printed. The costume once again is very simple looking. It's not something that screams Star Wars to me. It's certainly more at home in Doctor Who, I'd say. But what I really like about this one is the fact that it's kind of a throwback to the really simple costumes and designs that were used in the Mos Eisley Cantina in the original Star Wars back in 1977. So as I mentioned during the packaging overview, this is peak retro Star Wars. They don't come much more cheesy sci-fi than this, and there's something quite charming about that, which I really like. In terms of accessories, this figure does come with a vibro axe, as you can see, or a force pike. Very nice sculpt on that one. It's the same one we've seen with other figures throughout the years, such as the Weequay Skiff Guard and other characters, and he also comes with a Skiff Guard blaster pistol. Not quite as much paint on those weapons as there are on the ones with Vedain and Vizam, but still very nice additions nonetheless. As I mentioned earlier on, the movement in the waist is slightly hindered by these plastic pipes that reach around the back of the figure and connect in the upper thigh. Obviously when you turn that figure, the pipes tend to bend and warp a little bit, so I wouldn't want to turn that too far, just in case they either pop out or snap. So do be wary with that one. But a really nice sculpt, really cool looking figure, and again he's going to make a great addition to Jabba's palace. I say that just because I haven't got a sail barge yet. So there we go. That is, nearly called him Sergeant Dolan. I nearly made that mistake. Brock Starsher. Very cool figure indeed. And finally, we have another repack from the Black Series line, although this one was a little bit easier to find, and that is this guy. This is Vizam. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the review, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the articulation and all that sort of stuff with this figure. I'm just going to give you a look at the details and the differences between the Black Series release and the vintage carded release, just because there are some slight differences to be aware of if you do plan on owning both figures. Articulation is standard, so nothing spectacular going on, but again you can check out my original review if you so wish. But in terms of overall differences, The main differences, to be honest, lie within the deco and the paint applications. With the Black Series Vizam, you'll notice that the weathering is a lot heavier, he's a little bit scruffier, a little bit dirty. Some of the facial features seem a little bit more defined and brought out on this sculpt, and on the vintage release they're a little bit softer, as you can see there. Sorry about the glare from the lights, but I hope you can see that. So nothing too noticeable at first glance. You will notice that the trousers, for example, are a lot dirtier on the Black Series version than on the vintage release. There's a little bit more weathering on the tunic as well. But overall, nothing too major in terms of detail differences. And as I mentioned, in terms of accessories and articulation, they're exactly the same figure. Vizam comes with a Skiff Guard blaster pistol, and he also comes with a cannon for the sail barge. This is another area where some differences lie. The vintage collection release, it has more of a clean silver look to it, whereas the cannon that was released with the Black Series figure is a lot dirtier and has this really gritty, scruffy look to it. But other than that, as I said, they're the exact same figure. Now, for those of you that missed the pop-up and don't want to rewind the video, I will include a link in the video description to my original review on this figure. It was some years ago now, so I do apologise for the quality, but a cool figure to add to the collection nonetheless, especially again if you're a fan of the Skiff Guards or the Sail Barge or anything like that. So that is going to do it for this review, guys. I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at these 3 Skiff Guards. I will be back with some more vintage collection reviews for you very, very soon. If you're heading into the comment section, be sure to let me know which figure from this set is your favourite, why you wanted to pick it up, and what displays you're setting up with your sail barge. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook. Send me some pics. I want to see your sail barge setups. So until my next review, guys, thank you for watching, keep collecting, and as always, may the Force be with you.